Welcome back to Soccer Cards United. You're listening to episode 285 of the greatest soccer card podcast in the world. My name is Jason. That's Enzo. Hello, Enzo. What is on the show today?
Hello, Jason. Today we are reviewing, we're just back from Chicago, we're reviewing the National, the 45th 2025 National, and the 2025 SoCo Expo.
Very exciting. Let's hear that music. Okay, Enzo, I thought what we'd do is, we're just back from Chicago. I thought we should break down our discussion into two parts on the podcast. I thought first we should talk about the National 2025 and our general impressions there, and I have some stuff to talk about. And then we can talk about the SoCo. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Sounds very logical, very reasonable. I'm on board, Jason. I'm on board.
Okay, very good. So just to say, the National was back in what they say is Chicago. What Chicagoans who are at the National insist is not Chicago, is in fact Rosemont, Illinois, near O'Hare Airport out in the suburbs of Chicago. In the Donald D. Stevens Convention Center. Rosemont is a little village that has a massive convention center and loads of hotels and restaurants, and is basically set up as the ultimate town for conventions.
Yes.
So you were happy to be back there, were you?
They have the outlets too. Jason, we've been to Atlantic City, we've been to Chicago, and we've been to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And head and shoulders, Chicago has been the best. We've been there twice now, two Chicago Nationals. It's unquestionably the best.
The best venue.
The venue, yes.
Better even than when we were there a couple of years ago, because the Wi-Fi and the air conditioning were both vastly improved on the 2023 National.
And we with the experience under our belt of the 2023 National, we knew which hotel to book into, and so we were right across the street from it, and it was a joyous experience. Especially, to be honest, getting off the flight, the Aer Lingus flight direct, beautiful flight, getting out into the airport, hopping in a taxi, and basically being at your hotel in like 0.0 seconds is super underrated for any event. I don't want to when we went to Fanatics Fest, we were in the New York City traffic for a good hour or 2 hours to get to our hotel after a long haul flight. Horrible stuff. Just the convenience of being able to get to your hotel after the airport and then being so close to the venue is just timeless and just beautiful time.
So it was a good location. When we went, I'm just trying to think, when we went to the National itself, so it's in the same venue. In terms of the show floor, they added an upstairs area. You're in the lobby. I heard that this year they were cracking down on people trading in the lobby. So that's the thing traditionally that people have done.
Trading in hotel lobbies as well.
Trading in hotel lobbies. The hotel trade nights were cracked down on, and the National went around and got the hotels to put up, or maybe the hotels did it their own volition, but I don't think so. Got people to put up signs saying the National official trade nights are on here. Do not come to our hotel unless you're a registered guest, and flood our lobby, because the National wanted to drive everybody to their official trade nights. So when you're in the lobby, there's an escalator upstairs and a second convention space, and in a very small part of that convention space, there was about how many tables? 30 tables? 40 tables?
I think there was more. I think there was like 60 or 70.
Was there? There was like a whole kind of area of tables kind of just cut off, but there was you could see a massive amount of floor space elsewhere.
Yeah. Shocking. I have a whole opinion about all of that.
Do you want to tell us about it?
I was gonna link it in with the Breakers Pavilion as well.
Okay, I also want to, I have that in my notes as well. So
that's why I said. Pavilion.
So, yeah.
Let's just get into it.
Get into it. Go ahead. Explain what the Breakers Pavilion is, and then go from there.
So a few years ago, the National basically added in the Breakers Pavilion because obviously breaking in the industry has blown up, and as much as you cannot get a new table if you're a new breed at the National, I think the breaking became so loud they could not avoid it or ignore it, so they created the Breakers Pavilion. In the first year of that existing, or the first couple of years of that existing, breakers were allowed to sell singles, which obviously caused uproar amongst people that were on the wait list to get tables. So then they cracked down. That's why at our first National, soccer breakers had a load of soccer singles. We were delighted and thought it was a great experience.
Yes.
And then they cracked down on it and said, you're not allowed to sell singles. And it, made the show worse. So congratulations to the National for that. But they did that obviously to kind of make it fairer on the dealers that were more so on the waiting list. So yeah, went to the Breakers Pavilion. Whatnot had, and they're obviously part of the Breakers Pavilion. They had an incredible setup that was some would say too many screens. You know,
They had their kind of like massive, like kind of Times Square kind of display that
unbelievable.
they
I
had
love
last year in Cleveland as well.
But then that display and kind of stage and that whole setup looked down upon the Breakers Pavilion, which for the most part was empty tables or tables with one or two people that were talking to a phone or talking to a display and not selling anything because they weren't allowed, and not really doing anything or talking to anyone because they were just staring at a screen. So terrible shit, awful. And taking up way too much show space.
Yeah,
as well. So what I would do, Jason,
here's your fix for the Breakers Pavilion,
and it's so fucking easy, right? Leave Whatnot there. I think they deserve and should be on the main show floor, and I think it is a good exposure to breaking. If you don't know what it is, you walk over it. It does look like it's a stage, right? There's things happening. You can look at it. You can get involved with it. People could be on there breaking. You're seeing all the screens. Great. Wonderful. Have that there. Right. Have an eBay Live. Have a Fanatics Live. Have any of the kind of corporate things there as almost an activation, right? Like I think that's great. Fantastic.
So you can watch live breaks. That's not a...
100%. Take all of the breaker tables at the Breakers Pavilion and put them upstairs. Right. Stick them upstairs. 3 or 4 things on this, Jason, right? Put them upstairs. Number one of the most difficult things of a 2-floor show is getting foot traffic upstairs. So if you fail to get the foot traffic upstairs, the breakers aren't going to give a shit because they're not selling anything anyway, and they're talking on their screens and breaking. So it doesn't actually matter. Number 2, compared to most kind of dealer tables, breaker businesses are more well known anyway. So chances are, if you put them upstairs, foot traffic actually will go upstairs because people want to meet their favorite breaker.
Want to meet their favorite breaker, exactly,
etc. And if you're putting them upstairs, let them sell cards. Why not? They're upstairs anyway. It's like a rejected part of the show essentially at the moment. So let them sell cards. Now you have an abundant reasons for people to go upstairs, which gives foot traffic. And even if they don't, the breakers are fine because they can just be live breaking. And if you allow them once a year at the National to sell cards upstairs, year round when they're running their breaks, they now have a reason to buy cards off people that buy into the break. So it's good for the entire ecosystem. So why not just take the breakers that are taking up way too much space downstairs, stick them upstairs. If no foot traffic goes up there, who cares? Because they can still keep themselves more than occupied. Let them sell cards. That way, when people do wander upstairs to meet their favorite breakers anyway, they're potentially able to buy cards. And throughout the year, the breakers are able to then put money back into the ecosystem because they know they're going to be able to sell them at the National. Meanwhile, you're also upstairs, so everyone else that has a table downstairs can't complain because they're in the rejected kind of part of the show, more isolated area of the show. And then you free up the show floor for more vendors to vend.
More traditional dealers and shops, etc., etc.
Use your fucking head, Nationals. That was my observation.
Okay. I think the breaker area is like pretty much a complete disgrace. I don't see how it adds anything to the show and beyond people's ability to go up and say hello to breakers. But like, there's a totally different vibe. Like the breakers are not like, I'm not like a hobby traditionalist. That's not like I remember collecting cards in 1950s, whatever. Like, so, and I have my own criticisms of the people who sell encased baseballs and just sit there and don't negotiate on price and all that stuff. Traditional dealers are not above criticism, but I do think the vibes in the Breaker Pavilion are the worst part of the hobby. Like the vibes are miserable. It's just like purely just like, how do we get money out of these people? They're running breaks to charge people who haven't come to the National high prices based on FOMO for not being at the National. And it's just like, this to me is like everything that's like a bit gross about the hobby at the moment. They're perfectly entitled to have a business. We run breaks. Loads of people run breaks. I have nothing against breakers per se, but just walking around, it just seemed like the most cynical part of the entire hobby. And there's a massive corporate section. So like, it's not even like, if you seem cynical compared to like Fanatics, that's not great. I just don't think it adds anything to the life of the show. I like your idea of putting them upstairs. I think traditional dealers would be still bitter because they would say, but these guys have a brand and like nobody will come upstairs to see me specifically, but they will come upstairs to see. I'm not going to name any breakers. It wouldn't be fair to them if they're nice. But I think you're right in terms of like the National just need to be a little bit, a bit more clever in how they arrange things and a bit less kind of like they're very fond of rules and convention and that kind of thing.
I think it's kind of like, it's one of those things that you kind of need just a fresh pair of eyes to look at it and say, why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? And why don't you apply this logic here and there? And like, I think they definitely improved a lot this year for sure. And they seem to, I think there's like a new committee or whatever But
Yeah.
even like the autograph section, I think was still downstairs at the back, just using up loads of space that it probably shouldn't, and there was so much
Right.
empty space upstairs. I appreciate maybe upstairs. I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I can't really imagine that upstairs wasn't like if you booked it, you get it all. Like we know from interacting with the convention
Yeah,
center
yeah,
here in Dublin, it's like if you're taking a floor, you're taking a floor. It's not a case of like I'm going to take a floor and just put all the tables here really crushed together, and therefore it's a reduced rate, right?
I don't think
That
they
doesn't
charge you by the
no.
square foot. No, they
'Cause
charge you
even
by the room.
the lack of use of the space. Like we went upstairs to look at the tables that were up there, and it was the tightest part of the show in
Yeah,
terms
really
of trying to
weird.
move through laneways and alleys and stuff. Like the tables, I mean.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, 99% of the floor space was empty. So it was like, why did you do that? And like, did they do
Genuinely
it because
bizarre.
they thought the foot traffic would be low, and so spreading it out would look a bit miserable? Maybe, but I think that's just really stupid. Basically, I think you could have had autograph signees upstairs. I think that's something you said on the day to me, because ultimately, if the autographs are upstairs and someone wants to get an autograph, they're going to find out where it is, because they're going to be looking, where are the autographs? Oh,
They're
they're
getting an
upstairs.
autograph.
I'll
Yeah.
go upstairs.
Yeah.
I think honestly, just take the breakers, put them upstairs, let them sell cards, and promote that they're up there, and that's it. And I honestly think that will result in great foot traffic, because there's cards to buy. People know the breakers. Breakers can do various activations because they have so much space up there. Because I've seen some claw machines and stuff like that. People were doing some fun activations.
Yeah.
Because without being able to sell cards, you don't really have anything to do, I suppose. Because if you have a table at the National, you're just live, and maybe one guy in your crew is live. So
Yeah.
you're just kind of standing around. So some of them had activations set up, brand building exercises, essentially. Why not put them upstairs, let them sell cards, and just tell other dealers, use are on the main floor. Like, that's your benefit. They're upstairs anyway. And then let the foot traffic flow and have the autographs upstairs. So then your traditionalists, maybe that are getting autographs, could be exposed to breaking. And if that doesn't spook them and scare them away, maybe they'll get involved. I mean, it's good. So I just think it's one of those things that they do it because they do it and they don't really have an answer for it. But ultimately, if they sent out feedback forms, Jason, I think they would make a lot of adjustments for next year.
There are a couple other observations from the show floor. A lot of tables buying. And we were talking about this before, but a lot of repacks as well. A lot of repacks being bought for and being sold, which is, I mean, maybe there's a way to look at repacks and that it's actually really good, and maybe it's reinvigorated I think definitely the platforms like Whatnot and eBay Live have reinvigorated the singles market to a large extent. I mean, buying is now part of the National in a way that I just don't think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I mean, there were always tables that were buying, but now like there are a lot of tables that are buying because there's a lot of people who are able to move cards in a way that maybe they couldn't. So I feel like that buying aspect has really become more important in the years that we've been going to the show. Maybe I just never noticed it before, but I feel like that's the case. There was some soccer on the show floor, but all of the soccer was very, very far apart. So you had to literally do an entire lap of the whole 3 or 4 different like kind of rooms within the building to find the soccer. We did see some mad soccer cards, some Lamine Yamal's, etc. Mostly Lamine Yamal, let's face it.
Yeah, there was a lack of Mbappe on the show floor.
Very much so. Very, very much so. And obviously, you mentioned the breaker thing. The breakers, there were multiple, including soccer breakers, multiple high-profile soccer breakers that would have had tables that sold cards at the breaker pavilion if they had been allowed to sell cards, but then they weren't allowed to sell cards. Therefore, they just take themselves and go to the SoCo Expo. So I think the breakers not being able to sell cards has a outsized effect on soccer compared to like the availability of NFL or NBA cards, for example, on the show floor. I want to give out a shout out to Pretzel Cards, who had his booth again at the National, and had what I would describe as a proper soccer booth. Like, it was soccer cards you could actually buy. Reminded me of us in Fanatics Fest.
Okay.
Where it's like these are like, there was other tables that had soccer, but they were very high end, and they were like an NFL table, and there was some like crazy soccer cards on them. But just shout out to Pretzels Cards for actually having like a real soccer booth at the show. Trying to think, I did not find the Rory McIlroy rookie card that I was looking for. There were at least 2 at the show. One was an 05 and it was 10 grand. Well, that was the asking price. And that was higher end than I was looking for. And then one was a patch auto horizontal that is not the specific card I'm looking for.
You'll always hear people say it, but there was a lot of cards that were priced at 100% above comps, etc., etc. I would love to kind of interview or talk to, experience the vendor, because it's like, if you have a table, do you just happen to sell that sort? Like, is, you know what I mean? Is it well known to just overprice your cards and they actually just sell because you're at the national, or are all the vendors complete gobshites? Like, I'd love to know. Like, do they have barnstorming weekends, or do they have terrible weekends? Like, I really don't know the strategy there. But yeah, there's stuff where if you seen a comp at 5,000 on eBay, the price on the table was 10,000, and they were like, I'm not budging from that 10,000. And it's like, fine, like, price it how you want to price it, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like, that seemed to be like, again, there wasn't a lot of soccer on the table, so it was not personal experience, but a lot of people were saying that about the NFL, about the football, about the baseball, etc., etc. And it's like, I'd love to know, like, are you just like, do you buy a table at the national and are you able to sell at 2x? Is that real? I feel like more people will be buying in the lead up to the national if that is the case.
Yeah,
but I'd love to. I don't know. Fascinating stuff.
Very strange. We did see one big soccer card that was priced at 100k, which was double the last comp. So that was very strange. And obviously, like, people can price whatever they want, as you say, and the idea of price it high and negotiate down, it would make sense if they priced high and negotiated down. And you just want to, like, set the start of I understand, like, setting the start of the negotiation way above where you eventually will end up. But it doesn't seem to be that. It seems to be, I'm pricing high and I'm staying high.
Yeah, I'm not budging.
And if you don't want it, that's your own problem.
Which is fine, but it's just like, for me, I don't mind it, but I'm like curious to know, like, does it work? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, is it? I don't know. I can't imagine it does, but maybe it does. But in general, Jason, I found the venue, like, we got our tickets, our lanyards, maybe the day before.
Yeah,
we had bought VIP lanyards, but we were also blessed with some media passes, which was very nice of the national to do.
And that's this now. This is us now justifying the media
pass. This is right, and we're attacking them.
Yeah,
we're never gonna have a media pass again. But I like, again, we got our lanyards the day before, but I felt like there was no, the whole time we kind of engaged with the show, which wasn't a crazy amount of time because there wasn't a lot of soccer there, so we were kind of in and out at our own kind of leisurely pace. Being next to the venue meant we didn't have to wake up at the crack of dawn. We're happy enough to go at our own pace. I felt like there was never really any lines anywhere. I felt like it was a smooth operation in and out. I never really struggled. I know I heard people complaining about getting their own VIP lanyards the morning of was a really long wait.
Well, we've been in those lines before.
We have, but I don't remember it being crazy. Like, I just felt like it was a very smooth. In fairness, remember, there was actually a huge line going into the center the day they won, maybe to get the lanyards. But yeah, I felt in general it was a super smooth national. I didn't really ever feel frustrated at all going around.
Yeah, no. Again, we were kind of just, we were wandering around. We weren't really trying to, like, go up to the busy tables and get stuff there. It seemed fine. We usually spend a lot of time in the, if we have VIP tickets, we spend a lot of time in the VIP lounge. I think we were there the first day. I don't think we went back.
No.
There was apparently there was some trading going on there. They had, like, little kind of banners up for different, come over here and trade your basketball cards, come over there and trade your football cards. We did see that really cool demonstration of that the Ludex machine. That was cool. That was all I liked. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
There are still a few of those companies. Ludex, what's the other one called? Haystack, is it, where, like, it's still like the we can take photos of all your cards at the same time, and we can auto populate your eBay listings and all that stuff. And so that's nice to see that still going. A bit of venture capital money still around the hobby. The
VIP goodie bags still suck ass.
Yeah,
they're still the worst.
Yeah.
I will give a shout out to a friend of the show, Gary V with the V Friends. He had the super stickers in there for his V Friends IP. Probably the best thing in the VIP goodie bag, which says a lot about both the goodie bags and V Friends. It says a lot, Upper Deck and Leaf letting themselves down with just random base cards again. And apart from when you dig through all the leaflets, I honestly wish everyone at the Dublin Card Show had the experience of a national VIP goodie bag. And I appreciate, Jason, the national pass is not just about the VIP goodie bag, it's also about the free food at the welcome party and all the other various little things. But some people give us grief about the Dublin Card Show goodie bags, and they have never, I can confidently say, they've never opened I think you got a Cleveland pin in your goodie bag.
I did get a Cleveland pin, yeah.
So I got no pin at all. So yeah, but the refund stickers pretty much gave you a sticker and or a parallel sticker. Essentially something of some form of value was in there, and people really liked it. I've seen a lot of kids getting a lot of joy out of that. So I think they themselves also at the national themselves, I think actually made a really good splash with all the kids. I think we've seen a lot of actually positivity going on over there, even if, it's not our cup of tea at all.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the corporate. Was there anything spectacular in the corporate areas?
The Fanatics corporate area was confusing as hell.
Yeah. And smaller than last year, I think.
Smaller than last year and hyperly confusing. We had set up a meeting to talk to someone from Fanatics Authentics, or they reached out to us to schedule a meeting. And we walked over and there was like a Fanatics, what was it? I don't even know if there was a Fanatics Live booth this year. I feel like there wasn't, although maybe there was.
So they were advertising Fanatics Live through Fanatics Collect because they had just announced the integration of the two platforms.
Yeah, but Fanatics Collect was the Fanatics booth, or it wasn't the Fanatics. You know what I mean? It was. I think they're suffering from the fact that they have all these different segments of their own company, and have obviously used the term Fanatics to Fanatics Collect instead of PWCC. So it all blended, but it didn't blend. How would I say? It didn't blend well.
It wasn't coherent.
It wasn't coherent. So we were standing at Under Wraps. Was it Under Wraps?
Under Wraps, yeah.
We were standing at Under Wraps, which is like kind of mystery boxes of memorabilia, trying to find someone to take a meeting about Fanatics Authentics. And it's like, are we even in the right? Is this the Fanatics booth? It wasn't very clear. Someone tried to call it. It didn't work. The meeting never took place. But we were confused. And then Tops was next to them, which was a lot more kind of coherent. They had the upstairs, that kind of level thing that they done at the worked out. The first time I ever seen it was at the first Fanatics Fest, where it's like there's a VIP section and we're kind of above everyone else. And I seen that then carried through a few times at various events since. But that was just confusing. eBay, I felt like eBay Live wasn't. Did you see that? I didn't. I remember last year
they had a live booth in the VIP area, but I didn't see much in terms of the show floor.
Yeah, I didn't see. Yeah, I didn't see. And like the show floor last year, they had a huge eBay section.
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah,
and they had that kind of bleachers kind of vibe, that kind of seating kind of area. Like so the corporate section in general, I just felt was a bit strange, to be honest.
I always know that I don't have a full picture of the hobby because there's always a few companies, like not Leaf, like kind of like sub Leaf, like companies that like are best case scenario they become Leaf, and they have like these massive booths like in the corporate section, and and they're kind of, there's lines at them, and I'm just like, what is this like? And it's just, I don't understand. So there are whole parts of the hobby that are just unknown. Still completely unknown.
Like even Zion this year had a much smaller space as well.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. The corporate section is always fascinating. Like, is it people losing faith in the national? Is it people downsizing? Is it a reflection of the market, or is it just people getting kind of show fatigue and being like, I don't really want to set up at the national, or I don't really want to, or it doesn't suit me, so I'll kind of wing it? Or is it a case of like, I'll send the team and it'll be smaller and it doesn't really matter? Like, I don't know. Is it a good or bad sign? I'm always kind of paying attention. Like Panini has been big at every national we've been to. They've been huge. They've been on the lanyard. We're predicting that to not continue moving forward when they lose their kind of key NBA, NFL licenses, Premier League license. So yeah, I said, watch out for that lanyard. I feel like unless they have a multi-year deal signed up, which I think they have for the first 4 years we've been at the national, that could be up for grabs.
The lanyard could be up for grabs. I'm trying to think what else. I actually didn't visit the Panini booth at all. Usually I would at least walk through it and just kind of have a look at it. In terms of soccer, there was no soccer Ramper Redemptions, which was highly controversial among the soccer community. Highly
controversial. We were all very upset.
Yeah.
Bowman U, Star Wars, and MLB baseball. Not great. That again, that took a lot of the fun out of the national for soccer people. That was one of the few soccer activities you could really do.
There were always soccer boxes that the companies couldn't sell.
Yeah, but now we've grown so much, and the companies have improved their product so much that they didn't need to do it.
No, victims of our own success. I do want to give another shout out to to a record breaking Irish attendance at the national this year. We had ourselves. We had David and Alex, who work at GTS in Dublin.
Yep.
And then we had two full-on collectors / dealers, Neil and Donal. So shout out to the lads. Was brilliant to see.
What's that total?
Six.
Six known Irish people were at the national this year.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
So very exciting stuff. There was a lot of talk throughout the week of PSA versus every grading company. That is something that we were chatting to a random Australian bloke on the street, who somehow spotted that we were card collectors.
Yeah, is it obvious?
Yeah, is it obvious? What is it, sir? Could you go into detail? What is it about me? Because I might like to just maybe. Anyway,
this was post show. This was after.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
We are on the street away from the center.
Didn't have any lanyards on, weren't carrying his ion case.
No.
It could have been two young men of any hobby.
Cut from any cloth.
Yeah, but no, he spotted us and he said, "No, these two are definitely card collectors."
Yeah.
So he was talking about grading, etc. I felt like PSA are at an all-time high here at the moment. This cannot continue. Like, this is crazy.
There is no number 2. There's always been like the top 3, and spot number 3 is kind of up for grabs, and there's a 1 and a 2. Right now it's 1 and sorry, what did the rest of you do? Great,
Yeah.
do you use great cards? Wow,
it is mental.
It's never been so strong. They really took market share in a way that is unfathomable.
Yeah,
and they're certifying repacks. They're literally in side quest mode. Is how far ahead of everyone else they are.
Yeah,
and in fairness, since we've been on the podcast, we've always kind of said they're number 1 without question. We liked SGC.
Oh, they were always going to. They were always.
Yeah, when SGC had like a 1 or 2 week turnaround, we were into them. That was the first place we graded with. But very much swiftly after that, we said PSA is the only one we're going to spend any time with for like the last 3 or 4 years. And it's been like that, and they've just continued to completely and utterly destroy everyone else.
In the face of massive long turnaround times and an industry, a unique upcharge.
Yeah, a unique industry upcharge. No real innovation in terms of their holder. Really, there's nothing crazy going on. They have the QR code at the back. They have a very good back end on the online, etc., etc. But yeah, like this year, it felt like at every other national, it kind of felt like there was an up and coming, or there was an established grading company that a lot of people were given a lot of time to.
Yeah,
I seen SGC obviously in the wake of their kind of slowdown or kind of reduction in capacity. Their booth was pretty much empty.
Mm-hmm.
Beckett was pretty much empty. CGC, which was, you could argue, was the number 2 at the moment. Nothing crazy going on there. Tag had like a weird kind of setup, much worse than last year again.
Yeah,
last year they had like all their AI whatever computer systems
massive
there, and
big setup, and it was
mental.
Yeah,
this year they had a few kind of lights that you could stand, little, I don't even know what to call it. It was all right or whatever, but it was like a lot of people, I think a lot of them have given up a bit.
I do feel like that maybe
we've seen a girl outside handing out tag grading 25% offs throughout the show.
I think it was Arena Club.
Oh, was that Arena Club? Sorry, Arena Club. My apologies.
Yeah.
I think Arena Club was what I was talking about with the lights as well. I think that was Arena Club.
Right.
Again, what even is Arena Club? What are we talking about?
I know what is Arena Club. Yeah.
The fact that I'm like Tag or Arena Club, which I think maybe their colors are similar. I don't know if Arena Club does great AI great. I don't. It's the only. What are we?
Yeah, who knows?
All that nonsense to the side. PSA are the standalone. As much as we don't love monopolies in this industry, they very much have it. Because the rest of the competition are completely incompetent and just incapable. I think Beckett actually has the best chance to compete 100%. With PSA, but they're too busy shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah. They're too busy falling over and fumbling around the place.
Yeah,
they're I seen recently CGC, which is also they're confusing with all their stuff. They have super cheap grading.
Right.
So I was looking into this super cheap grading, and I looked at Beckett in Europe because they've obviously set up in Europe, and I was thinking maybe there's an opportunity to grade some cards with Beckett in Europe because it should be really cheap and all, etc. etc. It's the same price or more than PSA. It's like Beckett. If you just were affordable, like, you kind of have to accept. Look,
you have to be the budget option.
You have to be the budget option. A reputable, because they're, regardless of how messy they are, they're still reputable.
They still are reputable. Yeah,
you have to stop grading fake cards. You have to rebrand your mag, your encase. What am I even saying? Rebrand your case, but not in a stupid way, the way you did with the big B. All you need to do is not make it a big, stupid, chunky iPhone-sized fucking case.
Yeah.
Make it slick, like every other grading company is able to do, but keep your subgrades, and that's it. Done, finished. And then make it a little bit cheaper to grade, improve your turnaround time, and you're there. You're number 2.
Yeah.
It's very stressful. I get very stressed. But yeah, PSA are running away with
it. PSA were selling merch at the National. I don't know how to even, I don't even know how they ended up in this position. But if you have let your competitor get to the point that they are like, they will upcharge people for their cards, there's no expectation of when the cards are going to come back, but their market values are so high that they're selling merch because that's how iconic of a brand they are. You've done an absolutely piss poor job at keeping up with them.
If their grade is just a natural 10 grade scale with no special super 10, pristine, black label, none of that's there, they're just like, that's a 10, a 10's a 10.
Yeah.
Then you've just lost. You've dropped the ball in a big way. I do think someone competent could purchase Beckett and turn them around.
Yeah.
But even the fact that PSA now are like have their magazine as well, which was what Beckett was originally known for, the price guide. PSA just have that now, and it looks brilliant. It looks fantastic. I get it every month because I'm a Collectors Club member.
Yes.
And although I did change it to the TCG and they never done it, so I just keep getting sports. But in fairness, I like to see the soccer at the
You're a
back, but
sports guy.
I felt like I knew about the sports, so I wanted to learn about the TCG. But yeah, I upgraded my Collectors Club, chose my magazine, and they said, no, you're getting sports. Sorry, Enzo. Yeah, they said, I'm not letting you do this. I know you host the biggest soccer card podcast in the world. I cannot let this happen.
They need to stay influential.
Yeah, PSA, clean as a whistle. Absolutely destroying everyone.
I'm trying to think, is there anything else we should say before we move on to soccer? Is there any other thing you'd like to see the national change over the next couple of years in Chicago, other than put the breakers upstairs? I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Breakers upstairs. I'd like them to have an international section. I'd like them to have a soccer section.
Yeah.
What else?
I would like to be able to go to, because they have their national official trade nights.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to that, and I never have.
We've never, in 4 nationals, we've never gone to an official national trade night.
Because, to be honest, I'm not arsed walking around looking for people that have the cards, the soccer cards that I want, or even the F1 cards that I'm interested in. Like, it's like, I would like them to just step outside themselves a little bit and see what's happening in the hobby. Because I don't want to elbow my way past all these NFL collectors. Like,
no, certainly not.
Certainly not.
I mean, I think people were complimentary about the food options there. We didn't eat any in the venue, I don't think.
No.
I like the check-in. I like the lobby. I like that vibe.
Yeah.
I like that you don't have to walk in just one door. You can walk in 3 of the different entrances to end up in the different like pavilion sections, etc.
Maybe get a second coffee shop.
Yeah, the Starbucks was overrun. To be honest, if you're there, Jason, come on, there's bigger criticisms than that.
I'm just saying.
To be honest, I would like them to purge out some of the vendors, and that's controversial, but I'm honestly sick of it. I'm sick of the level. Like at some point, you can't have all of that vintage in a room.
Yeah.
Like if it's that thing of like if you think the vintage is in such demand, put them upstairs. I think if you did, you would be in for quite a surprise. But I think some of the whatever the criteria is to be a vendor, I think needs to be assessed. But ultimately, to be honest, they run a super successful show. I like that they only.
And it's kind of like us running the Dublin Card Show, where it's like, we think, we should tighten the criteria to be, but then it's like, well, somebody came last year or came like. For them, it's like if someone came the last 40 years and they wouldn't meet the new criteria. Like, we care more about the fact that they've been here every year than we do.
No, I know. I think basically the upstairs space, but it's kind of interesting because as much as you talk about how big the national is and how it's growing and like that upstairs space, I don't even think they could necessarily fill it. Do you know what I mean? It's like they obviously, it was a big deal for them to kind of have the little space that they did upstairs.
Yeah.
They were all first time vendors, right? All those people upstairs were like, you were the top of the list to be next or whatever. You're all first time vendors. We're going to put you upstairs, less than one human width apart of each other for no reason whatsoever, despite the fact that we absolutely have all of the space in the world.
Yeah.
So we're going to make it a terrible experience upstairs. It's really like the floor, like they sectioned off the floor in general. That there was more space beyond it. But even in the section space that they did use, they put all of the tables probably in 30% of that space, if even 20% of it. And they were all beside each other. And it was terrible. But
you know what else? Just to say on that area, there was, you could buy tickets for the show on the day upstairs at a booth in that same room.
Right, so they were obviously thinking about getting the foot traffic. I think they were concerned about foot traffic upstairs, but I think
they were also concerned about people ducking into the show. They're like, if we're having people check in upstairs, because you had to go through like a security guard with like a kind of velvet rope situation. So like, if we make this too big, people are going to jump over the.
Well, then that was stupid.
I know, I agree.
You should have bought tickets downstairs in the lobby or outside the door, whatever. And or you can't buy tickets on the door. I don't know.
I hear parking is and traffic are becoming limiting factors. There was a lot of complaints about the traffic this year.
I didn't hear that.
And parking, yeah.
We were connected, but I just kept hearing it's not as bad as Cleveland. Like Cleveland's was so bad.
Well, Cleveland was a complete write-off.
Yeah. So
and we're going to Detroit in 2028.
Holy
Motor
smoke.
City.
Motor City. No, I think I think the upstairs needs to be figured out. It's one of those things where I do think there's easy fixes for it, and it can actually be a good addition to the national and a good extra level. And let's go upstairs and do this, that, and the other. But I do understand 2-floor shows are difficult. But I think if anywhere could do a 2-floor show, it is the biggest collecting show on earth. But yeah, there you have it. I think ultimately, again, it's that thing of like, can't really criticize the people hosting the best show in the world, as much as you can. It's kind of like, but everything else was very, very smooth and very,
well,
very
it's a thing of it's a free hit for us to criticize them because they're never going to be dethroned, and
Listen, I like it in terms of like an event organization point of view. I really did like it. I think there was a few things. I think the breakers upstairs is probably the biggest thing that I would do. But I mean, what are we talking about?
Okay, let's talk about the other show we attended last week in Chicago, the SoCo Expo, after this short break. And so let me take people back to last week. So we get to Chicago on Monday. Tuesday, we have a free day. Wednesday, we go to the preview day of the National. And then Thursday, about 3 o'clock, we head to a place called Chicago Soccer Fields, about sort of 20, 25 minutes away from the national area, and depending on traffic. The Chicago Soccer Fields is like a set of indoor soccer pitches. It's like sort of like like a power league kind of place or something like that. And so this is not our first time. Important to say, it's not our first time at a show in an indoor soccer field. We were there for Paris Card Show year 1 in an indoor soccer field. So I was kind of having like a whole sense memory when I went in, and they were like, "You're in this cage," and I was like, "I've been in a cage before." So this is the biggest soccer show in the world. First year was last year in Cleveland. In Cleveland, we were in a union hall with 80 tables. This year we were in this indoor soccer field on 3.5 maybe of the 4 pitches in the front, and it was 170 tables, and it was very much a who's who of our podcast listenership. So I think we should just start off by thanking every single person that came up and said very kind things about the podcast to us. We met an awful lot of listeners, and we're not going to name everyone individually, but thank you very much for taking the time to say hello. Meant a lot.
100%. I want to give a shout out to the champ who does Andreas, who does the Primo podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great character to me. Lovely guy. Had a lot of complimentary things. He's more in the vintage space as well, obviously pre-modern as well.
Yeah.
A shout out to Noah, and more so Noah's other half, or I don't know if it was his other half, but the lady that was with Noah.
I think that was his wife.
Listen, I don't want to assume.
I don't want to either, but I think it was.
But you did assume.
Okay.
But, we were kind of chatting to each other, and I kind of caught they were in front of the table, and I caught in the glimpse of my eye. They were having a conversation amongst themselves, and Noah was a little bit shy to engage with us, and the lovely lady that was there convinced him to do so. At one point, I heard him say, "I know they're busy," and she looked up. We had made eye contact with each other, and she was looking at us, going, "They are literally not busy at all right now."
Yes.
And then she secured him to ask for a photo, and then we had a photo and had a wonderful chat, despite the kits he was wearing, because he was in a 2006 French kit. And then the next day I saw him, he was wearing a Juventus kit. So I said, "Listen, no, you're a nice guy, but you need to stop with these kits."
Yeah.
It was stuff like that all weekend. It was just brilliant. People coming up and chatting to us, getting photos with people, meeting people that we hadn't actually met before as well. There was a lot of that going on, and it was just because obviously Cleveland, we met a lot of people, but there's huge amounts of people that go to Chicago and don't go to Cleveland, Atlantic City.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people complimentary to this podcast, Jason. A lot of people mentioning the 3 to 4 week hiatus we had a few weeks ago. People were not happy about that. People were giving us grief. But in general, wonderful to chat to anyone and everyone that listens to the podcast, and to receive such compliments towards it was very nice. It's a nice element to going to the national that we don't always have.
And that certainly a lot of other people wouldn't have. It's like for us, it's like it's a nice experience to go and have a kind of friendly face to say hello to you and say I like your podcast. So just even as an ego trip for us, it's always a great time at the national. I want to talk about a couple of things before we get into our specific experience. On the show floor, there was some, but not a lot, of women's soccer. And I was chatting to a couple of women's soccer collectors over the weekend, and the consensus seemed to be that the sort of speculative money has now largely disappeared from women's soccer, in terms of people coming in when it first was released by Topps and buying cards because they were kind of a long-term play. It was a brand new sort of opportunity for flippers and investors. And then when you had the likes of Salma Paruedo and Claudia Pina and these kind of players coming through, and it's like, oh, maybe this is an investment opportunity. These players could become Aitana Bonmati or become Alexia Putellas. That has now, the string of rookies has sort of dried up, and so I felt like what women's soccer was there was very much for the collectors, and I didn't really feel any interest in it from people as an investment piece. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then the other thing was, and you have more experience of this than I do because you went and investigated thoroughly, was the presence of vintage at the SoCo Expo, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, there was an entire corner of vintage. It was about 3 or 4, maybe 5 vendors that were all vintage only. I had some great conversations actually with Donal, who is a fellow Irishman mentioned already. He's into the TCGs and he's into vintage as well. So he was giving me kind of the tour of the vintage tables. I was looking at a variety of things. I seen these huge printed out encyclopedias that have been community made. I can't remember who made them, but there was a community made one. It was insane, Jason. All the different eras. It was like the gold era, the silver era, all this sort. It was crazy, and the oldest era was the biggest book. So I thought that was crazy that there was
it was a whole like library full of
it was like between years, right? So it's literally like you're thinking kind of like the Bronze Age, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I think the pre-1930s was the biggest stack. It was like giant. I thought like the Pele kind of years would have been, but it wasn't the case. So I went through it like as casual as you could. Just went to the Pele pages, just because I was like, I'm not going to sit here looking through all the vintage. I'll just have a quick look at Pele and just be like, see the vibe, because I can understand Pele. But yeah, it was good. I seen some crazy cards, including, Jason, I should have showed you this. This actually might be a blurry photo, but I got a El Rey, obviously one of the more well-known vintage collectors.
Yes, he has his own label at PSA.
He had a 1982 World Cup, Jason. I don't know if you've ever seen this. The stickers Panini put out for the 82 World Cup. I believe these were issued in Egypt, and they're in Arabic. Let me see if I can show you that there. So it's your classic. It's terrible.
Is that Michel Platini?
That's Michel Platini. Yeah, it's actually, my photo is slightly blurry. It's not just the screen, but it's Arabic text.
That's amazing.
And because it was an 82, you would assume a Maradona is out there, but we have not seen one yet.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it was just super. It was interesting. It was fun chatting to them, and I kind of picked their brains in some cases, because I was kind of saying, like, you guys clearly back vintage to the hilt. Like, some of them own 6-figure plus vintage cards, and I was like, in backing, I asked El Rey this. Was my one question for him. I said, and you had him on the show before, didn't you? Right, back in the day, was he on?
No, I don't know if he came on. He was definitely going to at one point. I don't know. Okay. I'd have to check the record.
But that's terrible if he was on, Jason. Come on.
It was years ago. I don't remember everyone.
I feel like he was. I feel like he was. But I basically said to him, like, you basically back vintage to the hilt, right? Like, you've essentially made a play. You're a huge collector, but you've made a huge play on vintage. And I said, like, how can you sell it? How can you bring yourself to sell? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. If you think, if it only goes up.
Yeah. His response was that he has duplicates in higher grades. So he's happy enough to, essentially sell these off. But, like, I don't know, like, if you owned a lot of PSA 10, for example, and this is separate to this, if you owned a lot of PSA 10 Messi rookies, 71 bits, would you be inclined to sell off all your PSA 9s? Or would you be like, no, Messi is, like, I did it. Like, now obviously can't wait forever. And at some point, got to sell some stuff. But yeah, I basically ended up in a conversation with him where it's kind of like, if all the vintage guys all hoarded the vintage, there would be no vintage to go around, at which point the market would be a bit softer. Obviously, like, you need people to have a chance at these cards that will never be made again, etc. It's kind of a...
Yeah, I saw somebody make the observation on that vintage... Sorry, were you going to finish the thought?
No.
That vintage is kind of a totally different thing to the modern hobby. And, like, I was talking to a few people at the show about why vintage is so, because Donal was asking me to comp a few things on Cardlad, as you mentioned earlier. Remember the PSA collectors clubs? You have the complimentary membership, and So I was looking, and he was showing me things. He was asking me to comp things that I'd never seen before, and I had no idea what the price was. It reminded me of that episode we were talking about the Roberto Baggio card years ago. Yeah,
the Forza Goal.
There you go. So, and we were talking about why this stuff doesn't get spotlighted, and the conclusion was that there's essentially just no benefit to anybody except the vintage collectors to promoting it. And I think that a lot of the stuff has been,
to a degree as well, they don't necessarily want to scream and shout and promote it because they're still trying to buy pieces that they'll never get a chance to buy again, especially if more attention is on the market. It's kind of
it's a super competitive market as well as being an under the radar one.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily want more collectors coming in, even though that would raise the prices. It would raise prices for everybody, including them.
Yeah, and they want to continue to buy pieces that pop up on the market, so they don't really want everyone in the world looking for those cards and then they can't get them. And
the other thing was that somebody said, I can't remember who this was, maybe it was Donald. Somebody said, do you think that you guys are going to start talking more about pre-modern and stickers on the show going forward as this stuff becomes more popular? And I said to them, we used to. When we started the podcast in 2020 during the COVID boom, soccer was much more inclusive of this vintage and pre-modern stuff, and that has been successfully eradicated by the by the breakers and the manufacturers and the likes of us, SoccerCarsUnited.com, who need to sell new products. That is now, so it's funny that we've come so full circle. There are people who have now joined purely in the kind of top score rookie card era of soccer, and they're like, are you ever going to pay attention to this modern stuff? And I'm like, we already did, and then we thought, so cyclical. I think is
there you go. It was just interesting. I had fun kind of just chatting to a variety of people with a lot of different, like obviously same sport we're all collecting, but there was a lot of different tables. You had like Soccer Breakers was very much, they had a lot of the eminences and stuff like that, and we obviously had a lot of our collection on display. We had a lot of gold prisms and stuff, but some people were kind of specialized in rookies, some people were specialized in the vintage, obviously, and in the higher end, the lower end. It was a very soccer galore, Jason.
Yeah, soccer galore. There was a couple of big breaking news pieces while we were at the SoCo, which were kind of hot off the presses, and the two main ones were two massive Messi sales. And one was the PSA 10 71 bis sold by Golden for $825,000.
Holy smokes!
And I think the previous sale was $300,000.
Yeah, 350 or something.
So that's a big swing.
Yeah, Messi's hot as ever. I believe that's pop 19.
Right. And there was a lot of nines and eights moving at this year's national as well. If you wanted to sell, there was definitely a big.
An Irishman may or may not have moved an 8 as well, but we won't give away people's personal financial situations.
Won't count anyone's pockets. But then there was also, and this for me was maybe the bigger story, the Messi green kaboom selling for a reported, I saw this on Breaking the Law's Instagram, reported $1.2 million. That's crazy.
Nuts. There was also a Messi select field level maybe from one of the early years, also sold for I don't know how much, but a silly price. Messi was on fire at the National. It was as if he was playing up front.
Yeah, it was a vintage Messi performance, I thought, at the National this week. It was incredible. But then we did, for the first time in a couple of years, see some real life in the Ronaldo market as well. And he was being talked about in a way, almost as Messi's price goes up and more Messi cards become unattainable for the majority of collectors. Ronaldo is filling that void and starting to close the gap. That was an interesting thing too. And it was also nice that people were trying to sell us Lamine Yamal's at SoCo, same way they had been at Fanatics Fest, but there was other people there who understood why we weren't necessarily buying Lamine Yamal at this exact moment. It was nice to be in a room full of people
that got it.
That was, I really appreciated that. Although I will say this, I felt instantly, as soon as we went into the SoCo Expo, set up our tables, we'll talk about what we set up in a second, but I felt instantly nostalgic for year one in Cleveland. And I never thought I'd feel nostalgic for being in Cleveland. But there was kind of like, I feel now, like, oh, remember that it was all of us just in the Union Hall. It was the absolute hardcore of the hardcore, and God, we'll never get that back, and all that Fido and the rare time. So
the free pizza on the go, no time to go and get it, but when you did, it was great.
Yeah, it was so nice to kind of have that. Like, I felt like this year was a big success, but last year will kind of always be the first year will always kind of be like a mythical.
Moment.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what we actually brought to SoCo and how we got on as vendors slash?
Yeah, so we
exhibitors?
had 8 display cases maybe to fill. We brought all of our gold World Cup prisms and gold power World Cup prisms just to display. And we brought our Italian collection. We brought our Irish collection. We brought some flawless that we had just got created. They were all just display pieces, and they did manage to successfully attract me at least a super factor Rui Costa in an AC Milan kit and a gold Thiago Motta World Cup prism 2014. So that was a big success. My Italian PC and a Ronaldinho sketch card, but that was a different situation. Yeah, and the rest of it was just us experiencing a never ending cycle of headaches. So people saying, "How much for this?" And I was being like, no, look at the sign. It's display only. And then them being either heartbroken or adamant that they could get a deal done. So yeah, by the last day, I think we took most of our display pieces just back into the Zion. But yeah, we brought a lot of other high end stuff that was for sale, and we sold a good amount of it. We sold a lot of F1 at the show, which was funny. It's kind of the non NFL, NBA, MLB stuff. Will always, if you're into soccer, you're probably also into other niches. So we sold a few Dynasty F1 cards, for big tickets. So that was great. And then we sold some higher end soccer as well, 101s and stuff like that. As well, yeah. It was we ended up bringing more stuff to sell than we had planned when we were leaving, but it played out well.
Yeah, it worked fine. I remember because obviously at the if anyone's been to the Dublin Card Show, we have display only display cases there as well as part of the SoCo United booth. And so I thought, well, that's fine. Like that, we'll just do what we do at Dublin, which is display only. But of course, I'm not at the table at Dublin, so so presumably that stuff gets asked about, at Dublin as well. But it's just like I'm not there to experience it. So having been there, I was like, woof. It's actually it's hard work telling people, sorry, that's not for sale. And no matter where you put we kind of experiment with different like placement for like a note that said this, and people think is it this specific card? Is it just this row? Is it, but it's like, and then people are like overly apologetic when you say, sorry, that's not for sale. And they're like, oh, I should have seen that. I'm an idiot. And you're like, no, it's all right. Like
we basically need to figure out a new way to display cards that are not for sale. And it might just be, you can't, that might just be, a lot of people did appreciate, a lot of people, especially Jason, your Irish collection, funnily enough, because the Milan and Italy collection has a lot of inherent value and people would be willing to spend a lot of money on it. More people would be willing. That people kept looking at yours in an endearing way and really be like, I love that. Oh, I love this. This is unbelievable. And it made me feel a bit sad because my stuff wasn't for sale, Jason. My stuff is...
your stuff's a collection too. It just happens to be a very expensive collection.
I worked really hard to put that together. Yeah, so it was upsetting. But yeah, that was interesting. I think like the same way like Golden, right? Like Golden will have stuff for sale. Not for sale, sorry. They'll have stuff on display, right? Or if you go to one of the, London Card Show, eBay have their auctions ready to go and it's on display. I think you might need stand-up cabinets, Jason. It might be the only way to properly put a collection on display. Stand-up cabinets with card stands, as opposed to display cases on the table next to the things that are for sale,
Yes, it has to seem like inaccessible. If it's like, if you can't see where you would just open the... locked off a little bit.
So maybe that's something to think about for Dublin anyway, because I'll ask the guys there. I was at table last year, but I don't remember really telling people what was or wasn't for sale. It was one big blur.
Yeah.
At the table,
Speaking of Dublin, we got a lot of people very interested in coming to Dublin. So thank you to everyone who's been spreading the good word about the Dublin Card Show, because we've been talking about it a lot, but obviously there are other people out there talking about it as well. So it's very exciting. I think we're gonna have. We had
Breakfast saying they're coming back. Table bought. Yeah. Troy from Trike Cards. I don't think he has a table, but he said he's coming. I think he's getting a table, but he said he's going to be there again. Which I was like, he's the only person I said that. I was like, really? Like, because I know like a lot of the Americans that have come and set up are coming back, and I kind of know that. But like, I felt like he was kind of an outlier that went last year. People love him, big YouTube channel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's such a lovely guy. And he came, and like, I suppose, as you remember, I think you were saying that you kind of had a conversation with him. Like, Dublin was so busy, he had a table as well, and he was doing content, and both of us had no idea how his day had gone.
No.
at the show. Like, did he have a good time? Was it good, bad? Was it terrible? Did he make sales? Did he buy stuff? Did he do content? We had no idea.
Yeah.
And kind of when we were wrapping up, I think we both ended up chatting to him, and he was happy out, seemingly.
I honestly thought when I chatted to him after the show, I was like, well, he's just being polite.
Yeah, he's just being nice.
This can't have been good for him, and I don't know why I thought that. It was good for everybody else.
I know, but yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe he's just a big superstar. Jason.
Yeah, I think I was a bit self-conscious. I was like, but Troy, you've got so many YouTube subscribers, so many more than we do. Like, surely,
don't leave a negative review, please.
Yeah,
but happy enough to return again, which I think is crazy, right? Like, because it is that thing of like, there's a lot of internationals, not just Americans and people in Canada, but there's a lot of internationals that are just like, yeah, I'm coming back. And it's like, obviously, that's what we're designing it to do, right? We want people to come back.
I guess that's good, but yeah.
But I honestly thought when we first ever hosted the show, Dublin would be one of those ones that's like, I'd love to go. I've never been to Ireland, never been to Dublin. I'm going to get a card show as an excuse to go over there. And the same way, like when you go to maybe Paris or New York City, it's like you kind of said, oh yeah, I've done it. I've been there.
Yeah.
And it's not like on your list in the near future to go back. Do you know, I thought a lot of people would be one and done and it was great. And, you know, I really thought it would be a lot of that. But it's become a lot of people being like, I had a great day revenue-wise, one of my best revenue day shows, and I'm going to be there next year without a shadow of a doubt. And it's like, whoa, what are we feeding the Irish people? Like, what's going on at the show? But as the Irish hobby is a lot less developed than you'd obviously have in the United States, or you'd even have in, you know, Germany or the UK. All of that kind of international support and kind of being a little hub of international people that come to it does make, like, it's almost subsidizing the Irish hobby's growth. And putting on, you know, I'm sure like a lot of some of the internationals deals are done by other international people as well. And obviously we know Irish people are in there spending money like crazy. We know that ourselves from our table.
Like, it's going out of style. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Janie. But like, that's the thing. People always ask us to do 2 a year or make it a full weekend show. But we kind of think we have something magic on our hands with a single day and a single time a year. But yeah, seeing all that, a lot of people were saying it, and a lot of people were saying, I've heard nothing but good things about Dublin. I have to try and get there.
Yeah. So for us, the SoCo Expo was an incredible time because people
stroking of our ego,
saying, "I love your podcast, and I heard your card show is really good."
Yeah, unbelievable. And there was a lot of confusion about Atlantic Collectibles, of course, our breaking operation that was going on. But there was a lot of chatter about that. I wore the merch one of the days, the Atlantic Collectible merch, and there was a lot of comments and chatter. But yeah, a bit mental, Jason, a bit mental. It was definitely our kind of room, no doubt about it.
Definitely our kind of room. I made this observation to you during the show, but the feedback for the SoCo Expo has been incredible. So people are just like literally had their minds blown. They've just been like, it's, you know, and it is the best soccer show. Yeah.
With all due respect, when you're at the National and you're a soccer guy, especially with Rapid Redemptions, and I felt like there was actually an additional lack of soccer at the show at the National this year. Then in previous years, it was always scarce to find, right? But I always felt like you found a lot more. This year, it really felt like anyone that had a table that would normally also have soccer had a guy that was going to go to SoCo, and they had all the soccer. We're not bringing it here because they did overlap, right? SoCo started at 4 o'clock. Your setup was 3. So I think a lot of people that would have had it on their table just decided, I'm going to be at SoCo, so my inventory is going there. I'm not even going to have it here at the show.
I would say there's probably a similar or greater amount of tennis cards on the show floor than there was SoCo because there's no tennis expo. Yeah. And by the way, don't start a tennis expo. Not everyone can just have their own expo. But I was going to say was that people were very, very happy, had a great time at the SoCo Expo. We had a nice time at the SoCo Expo as well. But I do think there was an especially strong reaction for the second year in a row from the American attendees and vendors at the SoCo Expo. And I felt for one of the first times, I felt a real difference in attitude between American soccer collectors and European soccer collectors. I really get the feeling that there's a sense of sort of like being the underdog. There's a sense of inferiority. There's a sense of being the smaller sport in American soccer collectors that we just don't have. I felt like ourselves and the lads from the UK that were there, and the German guys, the Swiss guys, and the French guys, and all, we were kind of walking around like, this is brilliant. This is great. But like, it reminded me of the Paris Card Show year 1. Obviously, the selection of cards was better than the Paris Card Show year 1. But what I mean is, like, it's not like it's normal for us in a way that it's just not normal for the American guys, and I definitely felt that.
It felt European, and it was weird because I didn't really feel that year 1.
No, neither did I.
Right? But yeah, I felt everyone, because if you're going to show in Europe, you're going to Dublin Card Show, you're going to see a lot of soccer, right? That's
Yeah.
that's our dominant sport.
Yeah.
So that novelty wasn't there for European collectors at all. It was like, yeah, this is essentially like the London Card Show, or this is like Card Madness in Germany, or any of the German shows,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Milan show. You know, obviously there was higher end stuff in the room for sure. That would be the main difference maker. And obviously,
you know what there wasn't a lot of, actually, and I think one of our Irish friends mentioned this to me. I felt like there was vintage. There was a good selection of vintage and pre-modern. There was a lot of tables. A lot of tables had a lot of like ultra modern stuff, like the kind of thing you would see at like the Dublin Card Show, the London Card Show, whatever, where it's kind of like all ultra modern, maybe inserts and autos and things like that. And you're kind of like, this is not. There were some tables where I was like, I wouldn't have expected someone with this collection. No offense to anybody, but I wouldn't have expected someone with this collection to set up necessarily at the SoCo Expo. But they'd obviously heard about it and they were trying to sell the cards, and that's fine. That's what we do as well. We try and sell our cards. But I didn't feel like there was a huge amount of Panini soccer stuff from 2014 to 2018. That like there wasn't a lot. We had World Cup goals. We had select goals from 2015, and there was obviously that big Messi sale, the 101 from, I think it was 2018. No, not the Kaboom. The select, the black select.
Oh, I think it was 16. Yeah,
I think it was 2016. But a friend of ours collects a lot of stuff like.
But did that sale happen at the SoCo? That was the thing I couldn't understand. Like, these big sales, I felt, were not happening at the SoCo.
The card was at the SoCo, and the deal was closed after it, I believe.
Yeah.
So I did feel like there were some, like, it's strange. People are it's not just like an even distribution of every soccer card ever made. It's like definitely grouped and clumped and stuff like that. And that was interesting too. It's not the soccer version of the national, but the national, not the national either, but like, it's not the equivalent of being able to find any baseball card under the sun, at the national.
I felt like there wasn't that much wax at the SoCo. No, because normally we would bring wax, but we didn't. But I remember last year we didn't sell that much wax at it because it felt like there was more of a single show, right? People don't want to necessarily do it, but there wasn't. You'd always expect kind of one or two tables with loads of wax, trying to take advantage of a show, right? But yeah, I'd agree with you there. You there, Jason. There was a few issues with the show as well. The Wi-Fi did not function at all. There was a lot of conversation with people. I as a dealer, I tried to use it to my advantage, right? I was like, look, there ain't no comps. Look, this is the price. I'm giving you a fair deal. Don't go finding the magical comps that always show up just before a show. I hate that. I'd be on eBay price and stuff. I'm looking at the comps, card ladder, looking at the comps. Cool, great, sorted. Sells at 200 all the time. Then you're at the show and they'll just take out their eBay and be like, one just sold for 35. And it's like, what do you mean?
True, yeah.
I've looked and everything else is still 200. So forget about your $35. But it's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I used a term which was very well. I said, there's a rogue comp at 120, but I wouldn't be that low. And people really responded well. Like when you say it was a complete outlier. There was a rogue comp. There's a rogue comp there. Before you look at your phone, there was a rogue comp, but don't be.
And I'm not honoring that.
I'm not honoring that comp. It was crazy. It was a crazy comp. But so yeah, the Wi-Fi was really, really, really bad. I just about got my eSIM working, and then it was really good. And then only really felt it day one, Jason, but the aircon was not functioning within the cages. Within certain cages, I think it was. Within our cage, I was sweating up. It was sweating up a storm.
Yes.
At our that was rough. And I don't love standing on five-a-side pitches. I find them to be very sore. Although I said that to someone and they disagreed, and then we got home. We got home. You said, Enzo, I actually agree with you. It did hurt. It did hurt my feet.
Yeah. Next time I'll wear a pair of Astros. So yeah. So look, there's it is undoubtedly the best collection of well, yeah, it is. No, it is the best collection of soccer cards anywhere in the world. I just had
a moment. I mean, Macau was probably a better selection of soccer.
I don't know.
If you're talking high end, you wouldn't have the vintage. You wouldn't. You haven't been.
It's definitely the best collection of soccer collectors.
Yeah, like for me,
I think that was a common theme, was that it was very much people were about the people.
Yeah.
People that they might deal with all year online, people that they know or that they've seen, or it was like, it's just kind of like, it really is about getting the soccer community together in a way that they're just never together otherwise.
Yeah, instead of sitting on a floor, there's more space. You're at a table. Like it's still the best thing we've kind of had at a national, let's say.
Yeah.
that. Like for me as well, they've already said, I'm pretty sure they're sticking with the venue for the next 2 years, and
Yes.
there's commitments to air conditioning being fixed and Wi-Fi being fixed by the venue host, who said they want SoCo back at their venue for the next 2 years while it's in Chicago, and they're going to commit to do that. So that's great news.
Based on how many cans of Pacifico I drank, I'd want us back too.
We were going through the cans of Pacifico.
Yeah, I got to see if we can get that here.
There was, though. I would not be a broadcast host with any form of integrity if I didn't call this out. There was after what was it, Thursday, Friday. After Friday, there was the SoCo put up an Instagram post saying that over the first 2 days there was 8,500 people through the door.
Yeah,
roll on Saturday. And as someone that has hosted an event, and someone that can count, and has a general,
you've been to a lot of card shows.
That's a good way of putting that. There was nowhere near 8,500 people in the room, and then we kind of were like, right, that's either, I don't know. I kind of felt like that was like, maybe it was say that in the hopes of a huge Saturday off the base of kind of FOMO with that. The Saturday wasn't
that typo.
Busy. Yeah, it could be a typo for sure. There could have been a zero added on there. Yeah, undoubtedly. And then the Saturday happened, and then it was reported that over the course of the SoCo there was 13,500 people. 13500. Now, first of all, which basically averages out 4,000 a day at least. Yeah. Based on how many
and it is your contention, Enzo. It is your contention.
I would absolutely.
There were not 4,000 people there every day.
What's it? Not stop the count, recount the count. I don't even know. Yeah. No, like if I honestly was to give an honest, like I would say roughly in terms of vendors, 300, right? Because it was 170 table, roughly 2 per table, right? That's 300. And you're gonna have, like, if you're planning to get anywhere near any of the numbers that were said, you have to count the vendors. Yeah. Big time. Attendees, like the critical kind of hours were like 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, maybe. It was kind of on from 4 till 12, but it very much died off after 10. And it didn't start. It was never except for the first day. I think it was the busiest day.
It felt very busy on Thursday. Yeah,
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. A lot of the vendors didn't even come back to set up again. And that's partially because one of the issues, the best thing of hosting it alongside the National is that everyone's there. But then the worst part of hosting it alongside the National is there's so many things happening at the National, events, dinners, parties,
and people don't just necessarily collect soccer.
No,
some people are soccer collectors, but also have whole other collections to look after.
2 of the 3 days, maybe 3 of the 3 days. I think 2 of the 3 days at least, we had something clashing, but we just committed. We committed to the SoCo because we are the soccer guys, obviously. But we could have been other places, etc., etc. Like that was, we skipped some maybe important dinners we shouldn't have skipped, etc., etc. But it was fine. But other people went to various things, the panini party and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But based on how many Pacificos we had
this year at the panini party.
That's right, Ludacris and Chet Holmgren. But yeah, based on how many Pacificos we managed to get, because we've been at many a card show with 2,000 people there.
It's really hard to get Pacificos.
You can't pee. You can't leave the table. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
I would say over the 3 days, at best 1,500, which is like pretty much 10% of what was reported. Like I'm saying 500.
Are you saying 500 a day, not including vendors?
I wouldn't even say it was that, but yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So
if I had to gun to my head, I would say less. But at the same time, there definitely wasn't 13,000. The other pitches were busier than our pitch because of just the flow. It's one of the problems with five-a-side pitches is there's not like entrances between them. You kind of have to do a full circuit. So 2 pitches were like connected, and our pitch was not connected. And then the other pitch was being used for five-a-side / kind of the challenge and just general kick out, which was good. And there was an outside section that I think shouldn't have been in play at all. Yeah, with some tables out there out in the cold. But 500 a day, I would put it there. Like I don't think there's 13,000 soccer collectors at the National. Period. Yeah.
The event was free and not ticketed.
Yes.
So this is, which makes it very, very difficult, and also makes
you can't.
We don't.
I'm not. Look, don't get me wrong.
You're not having a go.
I'm not having a go at all. I cannot allow a number like that to go out
and just be unchallenged.
For example, we host the Dublin Card Show Convention Centre, and when we got to 2,000 ticket sales, they were like fire marshal. They were like, you can't have this many people in an event.
Yes.
And this is the Convention Centre. This is a much bigger space than the Chicago soccer field.
Yeah.
So to even suggest 4,000 people per day, even though it was a long you could say that they were in and out and they were in and out all day.
People popped in.
But they just weren't. And the thing is, I think it's an injustice. It's an unnecessary.
You're saying it was a good event. What's going on with these numbers?
You're doing a disservice to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a play to get sponsors next year or whatever the case may be. They know they're here for the next 3 years. They want to make sure next year everyone shows up because they missed out on this blockbuster, etc., etc. But crazy reporting of numbers in that regard. Like 13,000 people is a lot of. I was 4,000 people. 4,000 people is an insane amount of people. Like, I never queued up to the bathroom, which was great. Never queued up for the Pacificos. You went to Pacificos, Jason. You weren't there too long.
I was doing fine.
Yeah, no, crazy. I would say honestly 500 a day plus all the vendors, which fundamentally, like, that's it. Like, the SoCo Expo is like, it's a soccer show, etc., etc. But it's essentially a replacement of the trade nights we used to have.
Yes,
and it's fantastic. It's an unbelievable. Like, without that, the National as a soccer collector is awful, genuinely awful.
Yes,
but there's no reason to
over egg the pudding.
Kind of, because that just puts, like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself for next year. And you're putting, like, an unnecessary expectation or whatever for, like, anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, everyone, you can see by the feedback, anyone we spoke to as well, everyone was like, this was brilliant.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to be like, 20,000 people were there. It's like, well, relax. Chill out, man. It was good.
Yeah.
I definitely think you could have increased the foot traffic potentially, but I don't know how many soccer collectors are there. And it's like,
well, I think the one thing I'll say about the foot traffic is if it's me. If that's me, right? Yeah. I'm not changing this. If that's me, right? I'm not changing the size of the show next year. I'm leaving the show the same size in terms of the number of tables.
Great.
And my only focus is to make sure that the people who did not know that it was on this year know that it's on next year, because the show has an amazing community aspect and it has an amazing reputation within the soccer collecting community, but not everybody that collects soccer is in the soccer collecting community. In the same way, not everybody that collects baseball is part of, like, a baseball collecting Facebook group. Like, it's not. So my idea for it would be keep it the same size. I don't think there's any need for more tables. As I said, there are people who had tables, display cases full of modern inserts and autographs. They don't need to have any more tables.
Not every soccer collector listens to this podcast.
No. I know that because I said, you ever hear my podcast? That is a no.
No. The tables that were outside, which I think were only occupied day one, I think everyone gave up on them day two because it was just terrible location. Can't have them there. You couldn't, like, if you're going to scale it up next year, that's a different thing. But in terms of this year, you couldn't have had them there. I think we spoke to the organizer about this, and we said he was under so much pressure. People were like, please give me a table, please.
Former Casual Fridays guest, Scott.
Yeah, I understand, Jason. But what I'm saying is, it was the classic thing of, like, they were begging you for a table. You said, look, I can give it to you. You're going to get the worst table because you're last, and I'm doing you a favor to give it to you. But you do, like, I honestly think that show would have been a better show with 120 tables or 140 tables. Because I think the 30, let's say 140, the 30 extra tables would have been 30 to 60 people in there as foot traffic, and, as you said, potentially better quality tables. Although I think that's hard to judge.
I'm not necessarily willing to stand over that. But,
no, but so I think you have to kind of accept that the soccer community isn't giant either. So there's no reason to go too big until you kind of iron it all out. And I think every 5 minutes you are away from the national venue, you're losing people. Like, I think next year we're probably just going to attend it instead of end it. Would you agree with that?
I think so, but that would be because, well, for me anyway, it's like we're in Chicago on business.
Yeah.
And like, we were happy to commit based on last year. We were happy to commit to being there all the time. Having been there the entire time. And by the way, every day I thought I'm going to head out a couple of hours early, and every day we were there till the death because it was literally everybody in the soccer community was there. So you end up in a lot of conversations.
100%.
But yeah, I think I would happily go back as an attendee walking around if I was just going as a soccer collector. Huh?
More flexibility. Like, if you have a dinner, you can attend the SoCo and have the dinner.
Yeah, but I think if I was going as a soccer collector, as a soccer dealer, and I wasn't, quote unquote, in the industry apart from that, I think I'd very happily set up again next year.
100%.
A
lot of people sold a lot of stuff.
A lot of people sold a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of people buying, like, cards for their collections, which was great. Yeah, it was like kind of breakers going around being like, I collect this guy, have you got any? And then just buying it. Which is great to see that money kind of flowing back into the community and all that kind of thing. So it was really good. It was really, really good. And I think the opportunities for growth are there. But just to go back to what I was saying about the Americans versus the Europeans, I do feel this yearning among the American soccer collecting community to try and catch up. And it's like, well, all the best soccer games are on at a time not suited for an American audience. And there's a chance that all the best soccer shows are going to be not in America.
Yeah.
This has become an incredibly important event on the soccer collecting calendar. But don't worry about anybody else. Let's just focus on what we're doing. And I just think I have a confidence as someone who's hosted a soccer card podcast full time for the last few years. It's like we're doing fine.
Yeah, we're thriving. I had heard though the National. You always hear this every year, pretty much. But the National, there was whispers and rumors that the National is going to have some form of soccer pavilion, soccer trade night, soccer something next year.
Yeah.
As I think a straight rebuttal to the SoCo Expo, the rebels at the SoCo Expo are being kind of almost potentially punished next year. Whether or not that comes to be the case remains to be seen, but that is going to be something interesting because ultimately, if the National itself either has a pavilion at the show or has a trade night that competes with it, we're not a huge community, right? We're not we're not 13,000 strong, but we're not a giant community. You can't split it. That's going to be a problem. If it happens. I wouldn't necessarily, if I was Scott, I wouldn't necessarily be concerned of it happening because I don't really have any faith in the National.
No,
I think they're going to be like, we need to fix the Breaker Pavilion, or we need to fix the upstairs, or whatever. We need to get more vintage baseball signees in here. So I think it's always kind of a nicety to say, as I think you might have said to me, Jason, you'd expect them maybe to do like a soccer, NASCAR, tennis kind of combo thing that doesn't really make anyone happy.
Yes.
But just something to keep an eye out for, because you don't want to be splitting. If you split the community on a day, like one of the days, like let's say the Friday night, people that go to the Nationals official trade night or whatever it might be, will be like underwhelmed with soccer because everyone's going to be at the Expo. Yeah. And vice versa. The Expo is going to struggle to get a lot of people that we didn't have this year in next year because they're going to be at the official. So that could get dicey, but like I think that could be a good problem to have. Like in an ideal world, in a dream world, Jason, you'd have the SoCo Expo in that upstairs area and the Breakers stay downstairs. And this,
which is what the SoCo Expo originally pitched to the National.
Yeah, and it would have been, by the way, it would have been 20 times, 100 times the spread of what they had upstairs.
Yeah,
and they have the space upstairs to do it. So I fundamentally think moving forward, I like the ideal scenario for me is the SoCo Expo integrates into the National. It's on site, and everyone's just delighted. Like,
why can't we all just get along?
Literally. And I don't know what it would take to get that done. I don't know is it doable? Is it possible? Is there any actual genuine desire from the National to be soccer friendly? It's literally the World Cup next year. So like, if you're ever talking about a time to have soccer integrated into your show, even from just a marketing point of view, the National, and I know the National's, happening pretty much after the World Cup ends, but it's still like topical and whatever. It's like, how do you not, I don't know.
Yeah, I can say this. I can say this just on the World Cup thing. Last year, I had a couple of conversations with big corporate entities in the National about getting soccer integrated into the National, and they had said they were going to put some pressure on and but this year I had a conversation with someone from maybe the biggest hobby company. I can't say who it is, but they are maybe the biggest company in the hobby. And they said, this is a quote, "This is ridiculous. I'm going to say something to somebody." So there is growing awareness on the corporate level of soccer exploding as a category, and the National cannot keep burying their heads and say eventually it will break.
I just think we might. It's almost like soccer, because the SoCo had to happen because of how big soccer is and how neglected it is.
Yeah,
but I think we're also the only segment of the hobby that has gone to a point of hosting an entire
satellite
show
event. Yeah,
like you have F1 trade nights every year, but that's like, it's a little trade night. It's nothing. I think this year, in fairness, they had 300 people, apparently 250, 300 people,
and that was one of two F1 trade nights on the
same day.
On the same day, we don't want that to happen to us.
No, you don't want that to happen. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm scared now. Let's say they want to integrate soccer in, but they're not necessarily going to take the SoCo Expo in, right? Because they're thinking, we host the National. We're not, we'll just do soccer. Like, that's all we have to do.
Yes.
Put out a single post and say we do soccer now, and there's some soccer tables. Make them available. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just scared of that kind of splitting of the community, because I think that will be negative on both sides. On one side, let's say if there's less people at SoCo next year and less vendors, and maybe some of the big vendors are vending at the National because they've been given a spot, but then the National's like, look, I'm after giving you a spot during the World Cup and no one's here because we're all at the SoCo. It's like, I think it could be negative, but I think I suppose all of this is important. It'll shake out how it shakes out over the hashtag long term.
And it's unfortunately, if soccer is going to be successful and is going to grow past the point of being this kind of like, underdog in the hobby, there are going to be some political growing pains, and not everyone who was there at the start is going to be there at the end. So let's hope we're still on the air to bring people all the news of it.
Cancelled. I do think the National. I have no faith in the National really doing anything.
Neither do I.
That's how this all has come.
I have much more faith in Scott and the team at SoCo than I do in the National.
Yeah, facts.
So I would like to give a major congratulations to all of the vendors and the sponsors and the organisers and the attendees, however many there were, of the SoCo Expo, for another knockout event.
Yeah, Barnstormer coming together, chatting, having a good time. Everyone being incredibly lovely to deal with.
Yeah, and multiple people who are not in the soccer hobby commenting that their interactions with the soccer hobby are completely different to their interactions with every other part of the hobby.
We had a couple of big F1 guys there, and they actually, someone sent an email and said, I'm so jealous of, like, he said, my best time at the National was at the SoCo, and that was an F1 guy that was just walking around.
Yeah. So
we have there's something special there cooking, but I am concerned about the political climate moving forward potentially, but we do have 2 more years at Chicago.
Yeah. I'm concerned about it on one hand, but I'm also delighted by the prospect as the host of a soccer card podcast, because this is material all day, every day for us.
All day. It's going to be
vicious gossip can be spread on this podcast.
God knows. We can throw gossip around about both sides. Just let us know.
Exactly.
I'm interested to see what happens. I'm to be honest, I was delighted with our trip, Jason, to the National, because it was our second time at the venue. Chicago's so well laid out at the National. We had the right location in terms of hotel. Like, it was compared to how we felt in New York, which obviously was aided by us both getting sick. I just feel great about it. I don't feel as tired. Like, the fact that we're doing a podcast a few days after,
and we did 4 weeks off after New York.
Yeah, exactly. It says everything. Now, we were sick in New York, but there you go.
Okay, look, that is it for us. We'll be talking about all of the other news in the soccer card world next week. That was just a full show dedicated to the National and SoCo. If you want to get tickets or tables for the Dublin Card Show, you can go to dublincardShow.com. That's all fully announced now.
Gone, Jason. Tables are almost gone.
Well, then I'd do it quickly if I were you. All right, Enzo, I will see you next week for more Soccer Card United.